Hello everyone and welcome to the latest train simulation podcast. Right, got a lot of news to talk about because there's been a lot of news since the last podcast, which wasn't that long ago, but who cares? So the biggest bit of news though is kind of being left to the end because we want to follow our usual structure.
Yes.
So we're starting with we got more information / a stream on Dresden. Okay, so starting off with Dresden, we got we knew the locos that were coming, but we now got full pictures and got told 100% what they're going to be like, what features they're going to have more or less. So right, we're starting off with the Talent 2. It's a 3-car version, so it's not like the one in Schnellfahrstrecke Köln. It's a 3-car instead of 4-car. And I think it's got a different livery, which is the S-Bahn Dresden. Do you know if it's got LZB?
I have no idea, but since they've been including it with pretty much everything now, I think it makes sense.
It would make sense, but then it's DTG. So we don't know if it's got LZB. By the screenshots they were featured in the first article of Dresden Reason, which we covered in the previous podcast. They were absolutely no clues, but the cab didn't look very hopeful as if it had it. But carrying on. So we get the 3-car Talent 2. And then we've got the BR143, which is the same one that comes with voice ignored, but we hope. Well, it's apparently it's been majorly revamped by new physics and new audio, but then there's also new bits and bobs like I can see in the pictures there's destinations, unlike the voice ignored one, which is nice. And it's quite a slow loco, as we know. It's 120 kilometers an hour, which is 75 miles an hour. Then we've got the 146, which has been included with main specific band previously, and it's got refurbished cab. It's got a removable reverser, new sounds, new physics, new destination display, as I talked about it in the previous podcast with realistic destinations. I think it's got, because with a new update, main specific band stock got except for the 185, so the 446 basically got LZB. But I'm not. It's a bit wonky, and I'm not sure if this version is going to have proper LZB. Then we're also getting the BR363 V60, which was done by Skyhook Games, also released as a separate DLC. This time in a Deutsche Bundesbahn blue livery, and it's got a couple of differences. One of them doesn't make any sense, which is the coupling is the automatic one, which you think, if they were going to refurbish the loco to have the automatic coupling, then they'd repaint it into Railion or DB livery. But anyway, so it's in the Deutsche Bundesbahn blue livery rather, with the lovely looking red wheels, and it's got a few handrail differences, and the cab's the same. I think looks lovely. Does some services around the docks, which I was joking to Bertie yesterday, saying it was probably the same size as the whole shunting complex in Oakville subdivision. And then finally we have the 185.5, which is the international version of the 185, capable of running on multiple voltages. And I'm not sure if it's got any physics or audio updates. They didn't mention it. They only mentioned in the stream the 146 and 143, but hopefully it will do have some nice, presumably if it comes with the 146 they sound the same, so hopefully it will come with some upgrades. More stuff. We've got also the Dostos, which are in a different livery, as I've said in the last stream, and also appear to have LZB because of a U, which is the LZB on indicator in the cab. It's a separate button, and it's been added to the cab. It wasn't there before, and it's an actual physical object. It's not a thing on the screen. So yeah, that's the information we've got. And then I think Bertie's going to give you his opinions on the new reflective signage and ambient lighting for the route.
Well, yes, it's beautiful. It is truly beautiful. The reflective signage is really a core change that needed to be made at some point, because the way it was before was pretty much unworkable. Driving at night, was horrible. There are loads of people who didn't buy the Cathcart Circle line because it was practically undrivable at night, at least according to them. So I think the reflective signage will make it a lot nicer, but I don't think it'll make it. I don't think it adds as much as the new night lighting system in general adds to it. So when you're driving at night, you'll see the lights in the houses appear, and it's like twinkling stars. It is properly beautiful. It reminds me of the days when I'd come home to the UK through the Channel Tunnel at night, and you'd see the lights.
Wait. Through the Channel Tunnel at night? How the hell do you... Oh, yeah, okay, I've just got it.
Well, when you get out of it, of course. And you can see the twinkling lights of the terminal, and it'll be really pretty and lovely. And I think that's what I thought when I saw the changes. It just looks really pretty and cute and nice. And yes, hopefully it'll be a permanent change that will affect every future route. Yeah. That said, I do have an issue with the BR363. I don't know if it's a major issue.
What is it?
Yet. I think that the blue is too vibrant. Because if it's still in DB livery, not
Deutsche Bundesbahn, yeah.
Yes, the pre-unification of Germany DB.
So there's just to clarify for the watchers, there was Deutsche Bahn nowadays, which is the whole of Germany's railways, but before, when there was the two, so there was West Germany and East Germany. East Germany had Deutsche Reichsbahn, which built the 155s, the 143s, the 112s, and then there was Deutsche Bundesbahn, which was the West German railways.
Yeah,
carry on.
I think that if it's still in that livery, it's likely not well maintained, and the paint would have inevitably dulled over the years. So I think that it's just too blue, it's too vibrant. To me, it might be better in gameplay.
The thing is, to me, that it makes no sense. Because German reunification, when was it?
That was
91, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Berlin Wall fell in 1991.
Let me check it. Yeah, 1990. So, given the route it's set, I mean, Talent 2's, I mean, it's a route set in the modern day. I think it's 2019 as all routes because it's pre-COVID timetables. That doesn't make any sense. There's a 363 in Deutsche Bundesbahn, because that means it's been in Deutsche Bundesbahn for 30 years. And it's... Well,
I mean, it might be realistic. They might still have these trains in DB Blue.
But
I mean, there's loads of trains.
It's numbered as the 261 class, which was the old Deutsche Bundesbahn numbering. So it doesn't really make much sense. But then, presumably, usually when they refurb trains, they repaint them. So then why does it have the automatic coupling system? It doesn't really make much sense. It's a bit like the Pacer DTG release for Train Simulator some time ago that had DRA, but it had the 4-leaf doors. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, South Western Railway, they refurbished all of their trains without repainting a single one of them. So it's not uncommon. I mean, I can see it happening. There's still Class 08s that are in BR Blue, or perhaps even older, still being used as actual shunters, and there's basically no standard Class 08. They're all different in some way or another.
Yeah.
So I think it could be realistic, but we're not in a position where we know for sure.
Yeah. Right. Should we carry on?
Yes.
So the next up is a mini review of Hamburg to Lübeck. So I think we're aiming to do a mini review per episode. So for every episode we do of this series, we're going to do a mini review of a DLC. If it's the newest one, preferably if it's the newest one that comes out. In this case, we're doing Hamburg to Lübeck. Right, Bertie, first give your opinions and then I'll give mine. So Bertie doesn't own it, and now he's going to tell you what he thinks.
Yes, the problem I have with Hamburg to Lübeck is that it is just another German suburban route. It's an opinion shared with by lots of other people. It just doesn't have enough variety. It's the same thing that we've had for ages. And of course, it isn't helped at all by the BR112's questionable modelling and the pretty strange, well, not strange, but unwanted inclusion of the low-level doppelstock rather than the high-level ones, which would have been more realistic. So, yeah, it's not one of the routes on my immediate to buy list.
My opinion is it's lovely. It's very much like Snelfaststrekker Curl in the way that it's a very straight route with not many stops, but the way the layers work on it are beautiful. So you've got the 112 that subs out on every other single German route except for Rapid Transit as per usual on the 143 services. It's beautiful to run on Mainz-Bezirk-Bahn. I did a run on it earlier. The Dostos are incorrect. The modelling for the 112, I'm not sure is questionable because everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I think
the headlight, the main headlight, the ring around it is far too big.
Yeah, that's true. But it's not, the actual body shell is quite good. And then timetable wise, it's a very rich timetable. You'll pass on average about 10 services an actual drive. It's pretty good. It's got the 182, which is in the MRC livery, which is a completely different version because it's a freight version. It's a pleasure to drive. It's got a couple of new bits and bobs, including LZB. No destination indicator. And then also you get to do some really nice services out of what I think is the docks at Hamburg, pulling container trains. Some of the container trains are 600 metres long. And they're really nice. Then you also get the usual substitution with the not substitution, but additional services with the 146 and the 185. 143. I'm not sure if the 182 from Rapid Transit is in there, presumably with freight services, and also the 155 from Borussia Nord. I'm not sure if that's in with freight services, but I presume because it's on every other DLC. And then you've got a lovely member, which is the 101. The what's it called? Yeah, the BR101, which has 2 services only, but they're really nice because they're top and tailed, and they're really fun. Route-wise, it's lovely. I mean, it's not as Bertie said, it is just another German commuter route. It's not S-Bahn though, so the stops are a little bit more spaced out, but still, it is quite commuter. It's very similar to what we've had. What else is there to say about it? The stations are quite nice. It's got destination displays as per usual. The working level crossings, which is lovely. Hamburg station looks lovely. There's some interesting moves within the route. Some interesting services. Some of them stop. So there's RB and RE. RE not stopping everywhere. RB stops everywhere. There's Intercity, 2 of them a day. No Intercity Express, which is a shame because Hamburg to Berlin is one of the busiest routes in Germany, if not the busiest. So I think no, it's Berlin to Frankfurt, but still, it's one of the really busy ones. So it'd be nice to have some static AI in there, be in the form of the IC4, so the BR403 that comes with Hauptstrecke Munich and Augsburg. And yeah, I'll put some cinematic shots in the background as usual, just so that you can see some videos of the stock. No LZB, so there's LZB on the 112, but there's no LZB on the Doppelstock, which is a shame. So it's essentially reused Doppelstock as per usual. And that's about it. So that's basically us covering everything in Trains and Mod. One last mention is I found something very interesting, South Eastern High Speed, which is the Ashford services are in there. I'm not sure if you knew.
Yes, I did know. I knew since first added.
Yeah, which is
they
quite
were
cool.
added because of complaints. They were added at the same time as the Class 465 services were added to the base route because people complained.
Yeah,
basically.
I actually quite agree with the Ashford services because, I mean, this is for South Eastern High Speed, everyone. I actually quite agree with it because they would be there in real life, so why not?
I personally, I'd prefer. I wish. I mean, they're fine as AI services for to look pretty, but I think that they'd be worth a lot more to the player if they modelled the lower level Ebb Street station.
Yeah, and then you
then
just drive
you could
there and
actually
then
drive them.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, actual services.
Yep. Right, so that's it for Train Sim World, and today's important section is Train Simulator. So, Bertie, so as you are aware, in the last episode we speculated about if there could be a possible Train Simulator 2022, and only one day after the podcast is launched, not even a whole day, Train Simulator 22 was announced, and Bertie's going to talk to you all about that.
Yes, so if you remember, if you've actually listened or watched the podcast, you will remember that I made 3 predictions after some self-discussion. And I say self-discussion, I mean I was guessing. The routes I predicted were the Frankfurt to Koblenz route, Cross City Line for Birmingham, and the NEC route. And these were the exact routes that they included. So I was right. I was right with my prediction. So, as I said, the 3 routes in Train Simulator 2022 are going to be the Birmingham Cross City Line, which includes the Class 323, 350, and the Class 66. Frankfurt to Koblenz, which has a German train and another German train, and possibly a third German train. And the American route is NEC, Washington to Baltimore, which includes the Acela. I still don't know how to pronounce it. Yes. And the ACS 64. And I believe it also comes with the MP something commuter train.
Cool.
Yes, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, that's all. That's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, the yearly refresh is something that's to be expected. It happens every year, and you'll probably have them every year until the rest of time. But I think that we're at the point now where it's just going to be yearly refreshes. There's not going to be any major updates. People wanting a DirectX 12 upgrade or 11, you're wasting your time. It's not happening because the reasoning they gave, I mean, they outright said it's not happening. And the reason they gave was because if they did it, they'd break loads of content. And we've seen now the 4.26 update for Train Simulator has destroyed, has temporarily broken every mod because of how the game works. So a DirectX 11 update would break everything from Rail Simulator in 2007 up to now. And that's about, 13, 14 years? So it's probably not a good thing for them to do. But it is disappointing because it does put, in many ways, a hard limit on how long you'll be able to play Train Simulator. Because even now, it's not well optimized.
Sorry, your voice spazzed out a bit. Yes, say that again.
Yeah, it's just not the game right now is not suitable to be played on modern PCs. If you want to properly play Train Simulator, I'd actually recommend buying a gaming PC from 5 or 6 years ago, because that, I think, will handle it a lot better. But not everything else, obviously, because we've got to remember Train Simulator.
I mean, for reference, just as a PC player here, Train Sim World is a much more spec-intensive game than Train Simulator, so that everyone gets it. The specs you need are like at least double. So, I mean for PC, not for console, obviously, because console, whatever, right. So what I was going to say is, I can run Train Sim World at 100 FPS constant. I can run Train Simulator. Train Sim World is 5 years old. Train Simulator is 14 years old. I can run Train Simulator at 30 FPS when I'm lucky. Well, a bit more, 50. Train Sim World at a steady 100, just so that you get it. And I've got a less than a year old PC. So yeah.
Yeah.
Get yourself an old PC. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, optimization is everything. It's why, I mean, a game that's about the same age as Train Sim World not Train Sim World, Train Simulator is, I think, Team Fortress 2, and Portal, and Half-Life 2. And they're substantially better. Well, no, not substantially, but they're better. No, not so. I was going to say they're better looking games, but I think but we'll refer to my conversation about SimRail yesterday, the last time, for my views on that. I think that these games, they are about the same age, but because they are kept, they're still modernised all the time, and of course they run on Source, which means they run well on modern machines. My PC can barely run Train Simulator at 5 frames per second. I mean, it can barely play Train Sim World either. But Portal, Gary's mod, they all run at about 30, 40 frames per second. So Dovetail games are not good at optimising, and sooner rather than later, Train Simulator will reach a point where it's completely unplayable on modern machines.
Yeah. Just quick mention TSW's there. If you're interested, because I've been listening to their streams, so DirectX 12 is in planning for, well, not on the roadmap, but it is in their plans for Train Sim World, because it's already on Xbox Series 1, I think it is, or whichever one it is, the newer one, because it's compulsory. That's it. I've got no clue about them, and because it's compulsory, just for you that's interested. But let's go back to Train Simulator.
It's also worth noting that Train Sim World on PC, you can actually force it to launch with DirectX 12 enabled.
Yeah.
And when you do that, I think there's some performance advantages, but some things are a bit broken. It's not there yet, but as you say, when it becomes an official feature, it'll work so much better, hopefully.
Yeah. So, have you got anything else to say? Nothing?
Yes.
Oh,
I have, actually. The yearly refreshes to Train Simulator, they've happened every year since Train Simulator 2013, because everything before that was just the core routes, although there are some variations, but you get the gist. I think that they'll continue for as long as Dovetail still makes routes, because Dovetail are pretty much at a point where they've given up with Train Simulator, and in many ways that's the right thing for them to do.
I mean,
Bertie, they can focus on Train Sim World.
Bertie was joking to me earlier about, say, DTG including just trains and Armstrong Powerhouse routes.
Well, no, I mean, I'm certainly serious with that. When they give up with Train Simulator, which they will at some point, they might continue with the yearly refreshes, but give third-party routes, which I've never done before. So maybe next year, or 2024, it'll be the Valley Corridor, Free Country Corner, and the American route. Yeah, I don't know nothing about third-party American routes. But to be honest, I think that Train Simulator is at the point now where it's best if it went like Microsoft Train Simulator did, because that MSTS died years ago, but it's now sort of been brought back as Open Rails, which is based on Microsoft Train Simulator, but it's an upgraded version. It's developed by the community, and I think that is a better place for Train Simulator at this point.
Yeah,
because Dovetail, they're not going to give any core upgrades to Train Simulator anymore. It's just not happening. So,
the thing about Train Simulator is it's a little bit, how to explain it? If Train Sim World works on beautiful graphs that understand the physics, gravity, and how air works, Train Simulator is 100% scripty. It's all values. So it's you can't. The thing about Train Simulator is that you can't have any. I don't know how to explain it. You can't have any things like indefinite variables in the way that Train Sim World can handle. So in Train Sim World, if you couple 200 million cars to a US loco, which would crash the game, but imagine you could, it would take a good 20 hours God knows how long to fill the air pipe. But in Train Simulator, that just fills instantly, and it's because Train Simulator doesn't, unless you program it into the loco, it doesn't detect that you haven't got a brake pipe coupled. So it works very much on what it can read off the script. It's a it's a much more primitive simulator.
Yes. But then again, that's just the natural evolution of simulators. I mean, Train Simulator compared to Microsoft Train Simulator is really complicated or complex. I mean, that's why it always amuses me when you get people on the forums, the Train Simulator forum, not Train World forum. The Train Simulator forum is always very bitter, I find. But there are these people and they say that Train Sim World can never do what Train Simulator can, and that's not necessarily true because when Train Simulator was 5 years old, what were they doing? It would have been Train Simulator 2013. That was when London to Brighton was first a major route, and if you compare London to Brighton, the Class 377 in that compared to Armstrong Powerhouse's Class 411, they are literally 9 years apart. They are. It's the natural evolution of the simulator. So when Train Sim World is 10 or 14 years old, it will have things that we couldn't possibly imagine right now.
Yeah.
And I find that sometimes you have to move on. A lot of these people just dislike Train Sim World because it's Train Sim World. I mean, it's the same thing for MSTS, the rail simulator, and before that as well. So really, I like both. I mean, you don't like Train Simulator anymore, but I still play.
Let me. I don't hate Train Simulator. I think Train Simulator is important to be there for all those countries that would never get made in Train Sim World, and it's a really important thing to exist, which is basically a way in which the community can create content. But what I do think is, as much as paying for things, or yes, for example, paying $25.99 for a Alan Thompson Sim Chat Moss route that has got incorrect bridges because they can't be bothered to make new ones is a complete rip-off, for example. That's what my problem is. And that for, say, Armstrong Powerhouse, the way they work, the way their money works, even though it's ludicrously expensive, say an enhancement pack, Armstrong Powerhouse enhancement packs work if you have owned the DLC before the enhancement pack existed. Because if you want to buy, say, their Class 86 enhancement pack, which is a very good enhancement pack, but it is an enhancement pack, it's not that good bit of stock because it's missing features. The actual enhancement pack itself costs $16.99, but it costs $16.99 if you've bought the DTG one, which, let me remind you how much it costs. The basic one, which costs £7. So that's already cost you as much as a route has. If not, it's cost you £7 plus £17 is £24. £25 is a route. So you're paying ludicrous amounts for enhancement packs that enhance things you don't own, whilst I think you get me.
The DLC situation in Train Simulator is, I mean, it's annoying at least, but in some ways it's also quite concerning because we're at the point where everything costs something. I mean, in the days of Rail Simulator, the early days of Railworks, UK Train Sim, there was loads of stuff that was adequate for the time, at least. You could get, I mean, the Blue Pullman, the Brighton Bell, they're not good trains by any means, at least, especially by today's standards, but they were there, and more importantly, they were free. And if you look at the requirements for Armstrong Powerhouse scenarios, it's hundreds of pounds. for one or two scenarios. It's just
And
if you're a new player in Train Simulator, you've got no chance.
yes, I know from personal experience. I mean, imagine you suddenly you had a good PC, or just a PC that can run Train Simulator, but you don't own Train Simulator. I'm going to make a list of the total price of what you would have to pay to get. Say you find Alan Thompson Sings West Coast Main Line missing link because it runs from Birmingham to Liverpool or Stafford to Liverpool or whatever it is, and that's exactly your local route and you really want it. So, for the missing link, you require a lot of things. So let's get into it. For the missing link, you require the Great Eastern Main Line. I'm going to jot the prices up just so that we can get the list. Eastern Main Line costs 15. Well, I'm going to round up by 1p because if not, I'm going to get loads of decimals. So £15. Plus, you also need West Coast Main Line over Shap, which is £25. Even though it's incredibly old and it's good, but it's still incredibly expensive. You require Liverpool to Manchester, another £25, I think it is. Yes, no, it's on sale right now, but usually it costs £15. Right, so plus another £15. Plus their North Wales Coastal, which is discontinued, which you can get on Humble Bundle, which is another £25. Plus West Coast Mainline South, which is another £25. Plus the overhead line pack thing from Alan Thompson Simulation, which is, if you're not a subscriber, £12. Plus a subscription to be able to get West Coast Mainline missing link thing, which is £30. Plus,
I don't have a final amount right now, but
wait a minute.
Looks very good.
Trent Valley, another £30. There, 25. And then 100 million freeware things plus another million things for the scenario. So let's add plus another about 100 quid's worth of things for scenarios. So to play Armstrong Powerhouse's not Armstrong Power, sorry, Alan Thompson Sims West Coast Mainline Midlands and North West, you have to have at least £272.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I think that really puts it into perspective. There was somebody on the forums complaining that that you had to own the route for a train for a local DLC in Trains to World for it to work. And they're really complaining. They're really quite aggressive about it. And I was pointing out that as you just said, the requirements problem in Train Simulator, and then no, it's completely a different ballpark. I mean, having to own the route is annoying, but it's not £200 worth of annoying.
£272 of annoying. Just get it into perspective.
So closer to £300 worth of annoying. I mean,
and that is an approximation because I summed 100 quid of locos, but I think I'd get it over £300 if I was to count the loco pack, the money for the locos individually.
Yeah. So really, it's just very expensive.
And we're talking about that's a route that hasn't got ludicrous DLC. I'm not going to sum it again, but just to get you something, let's see. Berks and Hants, which is a train simulator route that goes from Reading via the Berks and Hants, so Westbury and that to Penzance with all the branch lines. Even though it's an excellent route, don't get me wrong, the problem isn't the creators, because they do a really good job. It's not their fault. Just so that you get a perspective of how many DLC it requires. I mean, West Coast Main Line required about 8 DLC, I think we counted. This Berks and Hants requires, I'll tell you right now, oh god, it doesn't tell me. It's so much, it doesn't tell me. Give me 20 seconds.
Can't put your math skills to the test.
It's a loot. I mean, don't get me wrong. The problem in Train Simulator isn't the people. The thing is, the problem is, right, the problem are people like Alan Thompson, which criticise, and then the thing is, Alan Thompson, he's a great guy, but the thing is, he's selling for, I can't remember how much, it is a dodgy thing, the tamper, okay? The tamper has Kuju sounds, just so that you can get that, and it costs...
They're 14-year-old sounds.
£15 in Train Sim World. £15. You can get a Loco DLC for, well, you can get it for £11.99. You get a Loco DLC that's going to be a million times better than the Tamper. And
I mean, the Class 31, brilliant.
Yeah, the 20,
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So Berks and Ants, just so that you get so you require the Train Sim. You get the Riviera line. The Riviera line in the 50s were already £50. Just Train South Western Expressway, £75. Brighton Main Line, £100. West Somerset, £125. North Somerset, £150. Well, not so much, but still, must be about £145. West Coast Main Line North, £165. European Local and Asset Pack, of course, it's not included, £195. Bristol to Cardiff, £215. Western Main Lines, £75 extra. You calculate that as about, let's say, about £280. Bristol to Exeter, £310. Newcastle to Edinburgh, let's make it so it's for £345. The overhead pack, which is £17. Yes, so at £400 for a freeware route, which is fine because it's freeware and you don't have to have it. But the problem is when you've got people like Alan Thompson, which on top of it require your subscriptions, and they're just shitty routes because some of the things are great, some of the things are not.
I'd just like to point out, though, this isn't a personal attack on Alan Thompson.
No, it's not. It's just the situation in which the GS community is currently in.
It's a professional attack on his business practices and its business practices. I mean, there are people who are going to agree with us. They're going to say that they're going to disagree with us. We're going to say that the business requirements is needed to make the routes as good as possible, and technically that is true.
And it's true. And as I said, it's not the Train Simulator works if you're a long-term player and you've been able to buy these DLCs little by little. But the thing about it is that if you start playing it now and you want to play that, you're already spending £700 just for the two things we mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I bought the game in 2013. I got London to Faversham, I got Donner Pass, and I got Hamburg to Hanover. 3 quite nice routes, in my opinion. Well, apart from Donner Pass. But I've been slowly collecting DLCs over the years. I've got about a third of the DLC library, mostly got through sales and the Humble Bundle. Those Humble Bundles were really good. And I have quite a lot of those requirements that you just pointed out.
Yeah.
But if you're a new player, you are going to be spending nearly £1,000 to be able to play a lot of this content. It's just not an investment worth making.
No.
If you buy into Train Sim World, you buy all the DLC, it's about £800, but not everything requires everything.
Yeah.
If you want to drive the Class 31, you only need to buy Tees Valley Line and the Class 31.
But the thing is, also, if you think about it, in Train Simulator, all the routes contain the same assets again and again and again and again. And then it happens in Train Sim World as well, but it's not so noticeable. So if you're driving on the Tees Valley line, just so that you get in setting, 1989, end of British Rail nearly, filthy, coal, steel workings. You've got custom assets that look gorgeous, factories, ruined buildings like the Thornaby Loco Shed and the Water Tower, the old Thornaby Hole for the turntable. You come with you get a Class 37, which is okay, 101, which is okay, and a Class 08, which is spectacular. Humble Bundle right now, $11.99. Tees Value Line. So what?
Yeah.
It's just, and then also you get the 31, which must be dirt cheap on Humble Bundle because there's a sale on Humble Bundle at the time we're recording this, which makes a 31 £4.99. So for less than what the original route cost, you're getting an absolute beast of stuff that's decent, custom built, gorgeous sounding stuff.
Well, other than the Class 37, but
yes, and the 101 horn.
The level of quality in Train Sim World is strange because it's not the highest of highs of Train Simulator, so for Class 411, but it's nowhere near what Dovetail were producing for much of its life. I mean, if you compare Peninsula Corridor, the Train Sim World version, to I don't know, Miami West Palm Beach, there's no contest. The Peninsula Corridor for Train Simulator is better in pretty much every single way. And the Class 08, made for Train Sim World, it's done by Skyhook Games.
Beautiful stuff.
Oh yeah, it is.
It's just so that you get the level of detail. You can isolate the sanders, which is a tiny valve that you'd never use, but you can do it, and it doesn't let sound come out. And it's just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never know why you'd want to do that, but
you can.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
And I mean, what intrigues me is that there's never been the only Class 08, and therefore Class 09 and all the variations. There's only the only version in Train Simulator is the original Rail Simulator version
with a couple of free upgrades. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's still. And it's still not good, and I have no idea why there hasn't been a new version of it, a new one. I mean, even an Armstrong House enhancement pack probably wouldn't be enough to fix the Rail Simulator one, because it is old. That's all I can say. It's old, and it's so weird because it's one of the most successful designs of locomotive ever built. Why are we still using a 13-year-old model?
Yeah. Also, let's while we're at it, let's dive into pricing, shall we? Just
back here again.
Yeah, well, we Bertie and I talked about this before the stream, and I think we should mention it. Right, Bertie, what's the standard price for a DLC in Train Sim World? A Loco DLC? Yes, it only comes with one livery or two at the very maximum, at the very most rather. But how much does it cost?
Right, I think I know where you're going with this.
Yes,
a Loco DLC costs £11.49, obviously.
Yes, on Steam $11.99, I think it is. Doesn't matter. Armstrong Powerhouse are happy to charge you £30. £30 for their Class 411. Yes, it comes with 9 liveries, 3 cab variants, whatever. It costs £30. And
yeah, I think
if you want Class 37s, meaning if you want both types of Class 37s, the ones pre-refurbished and refurbished, £50. I
mean, the Class. I mean, this isn't an attack on the Class 411 because
it's a wonderful DLC.
Possibly the best thing. It's possibly the best thing ever made for Train Simulator. I mean, it is absolutely beautiful. It's a Train Sim World level model. The sounds are beautiful. The features are wonderful. It is genuinely it's one of the few DLCs for Train Simulator, but I think this is better than Train Sim World in every way. And in many ways it is. It's just beautiful and spectacular, and I want it in Train Sim World. And but £30, it really does limit the people who buy it, because £30 is a lot of money. It really only will appeal to people who are genuinely interested in the Class 411. If you're only partially interested in it, don't buy it, because it's just too much. On sale, maybe, but I think Armstrong House at the point where they're really taking the piss with the cost of their DLCs. It's just too much.
You've got the Armstrong Powerhouse model, which is bloody brilliant DLC for a blooming wallet breaker, but then you've got the Just Trains version of DLC, which is 2013 model with no new features, one new livery, £20 for the Voyager. Yes.
The Voyager.
It tilts always. So if you're going at 5 miles an hour on a curve, it tilts and looks weird. Horrible model.
Got to remember.
Interesting features. 2013, £21.99. Whatever.
It's not 2013. It's Rail Simulator. That's how old it is. I mean, it's evolved quite a bit since the original Rail Simulator version. That version didn't even tilt because Rail Simulator couldn't have it tilting trains. It just didn't work. But yeah, the Just Trains Voyager it's only really as popular as it is because it comes with all the liveries and it's got some quite nice features. Like the startup sequence. The dovetail model looks a lot better. Well, I say a lot better. It looks hugely better, but nobody really liked it as much because it just wasn't as interesting. I mean, you can't even get it anymore because they removed the DLC. Yeah, I think that Train Simulator, at some point, somebody has to say, that's it, end of. And I think, well, actually, I think it's quite a good ending for the podcast, because I think we've gone on too far, I think. But it's too much. Train Simulator.
Pricing.
I think it's lived long enough to see itself become the villain, and in many ways it is the villain.
And one last thing, without going into it, the community, whilst there are some loving places, there is also it's very toxic. The same way as there's the Train Sim community server on Discord. If you go to the Train Sim World modding, everyone's like, good job, that's it, you can do it. You know, you go into the Train Simulator section, that's shit. It's literally like that. I am not joking.
Yeah. On Alan Thompson Sim, there was I think 2 reskins of the HST into East Midlands Railway livery. Bill really, really went for him because the colouring was a little bit too vibrant, and it was too vibrant. But he tried, and it doesn't look bad. It's just not as good as it could be. And constructive criticism is far more valuable than just criticism.
Yeah, trust us, everyone. We've got experience as developers.
That's what you have.
Well, and you have. You were the manager, so yeah. We had a site. We did our things. We've given up. Too toxic. And Bertie's. Are you still working on that route of yours?
I haven't been on it recently, but I do plan to finish it.
Cool. But yeah, that's basically it. So, just rounding off. Basically, yeah. Thanks for watching this rant, because the other podcast was very pure, but this one's been very subjective. So give us your opinions in the comments. We'd absolutely love to know.
I mean, genuinely, we do, because there's no point in us just talking about our opinions. If you've got a genuine alternative opinion and it's constructive, then we'll listen to it. We will look at it, and maybe we'll think you're right. But yeah, if you just go into the comment section and call us scumbags, there's really no point. But if you say, well, I think this, and then give your reasons, yes, do it. Please do it.
Right. So after this, I think this is a great place to end the podcast. So thank you very much for listening / watching. This podcast has been done by British Railways Locos and Doomotron, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Yes.